because everyone might be aware of modeling perspective, because you have already taken uh, few interesting courses where from where these important models are coming, and you can optimize those models. So those courses, I can name few, that one is machine learning, another one is control theory, and even almost every whatever course, engineering course you are going through, definitely you will come across some kind of model. And once you are having a model, then definitely you will talk about to make that model optimal in order to get a optimal efficiency of that model. So that's way I will talk about that modeling perspective as well. So how we can derive that modeling perspective. So I'm going to share the slide. Slide is visible. Anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So even you can see title of this lecture is modeling approaches of optimization problem. And if time permit, then I will go to discuss about various stationary point. Here a stationary point is very important in order to understand optimality point, because here a stationary point is a practical approach to find an approximate optimal point. It is if you are going to apply some kind of iterative method, definitely it is very much certain that you won't get exact optimal point, but you will get an approximate optimal point. That means a point which is very near to optimal point. So that criteria is coming in the category of stationary point. So that's why I had introduced these two things here. So in this class, I would like to discuss modeling approach of optimization problem. So there are two approach. One approach we are calling it parametric approach. Parametric approach also include non-parametric as well. So parametric, non-parametric. If number of parameter are finite, then we simply say that model is a parametric model. But what happens if a number of parameter happens to be infinite? Then such kind of model we are calling it non-parametric model. That means directly we try to approximate a function which generate data. And in parametric, what we do, we try to define a function in terms of some parameter, finite number of parameter. Like if you are just going to estimate density of a Gaussian, then you need to know what are the parameter, mean and variance happens to be parameters. So those things you have to estimate in order to get a density, estimated density of the given data. But non-parametric, what will happen in non-parametric approach? Directly you will try to estimate the function itself. So one example of non-parametric is that Gaussian process regression. That if I want to go those things in detail, those are not detailed part of this course. And another approach is Oracle model. Anyone, can you answer? Have you seen Oracle model? Anyone, can you answer?
No, sir, we haven't seen.
No, sir, we
Haven't
haven't seen
seen?
Oracle model.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen hyperparameter optimization?
So it's hyperparameter tunings are not optimization. We know tuning like the
Okay,
same thing.
tuning is manual approach. Also, that you can call it optimization as well. Also,
Yeah, sir, by changing the,
that
yeah.
one, yeah, that one is also optimization perspective as well. So, where do you in that model what you observe? If I ask what is the cost function of that hyperparameter model, what would be cost function? Do you know the cost function of hyperparameter tuning or hyperparameter optimization?
No, sir.
Don't know. Then how
No,
you
sir.
do?
We don't make a cost function for hyperparameter, only for parameters.
Then what you do?
Sir, it's about randomly setting tuning and trying to find optimal values for it. Testing on different values. It's like trial and manual testing.
Then what is the cost function then?
So
If you
cost
are doing
function can be
optimization,
cross entropy loss or something like that.
is it uh, uh, Is it that cross entropy is that your cost function? Because you have to be very much
Or
specific
logistic functions.
whenever. Actually, what is happening that whenever you are trying to tune hyperparameter or when you do hyperparameter optimization, we are calling it is an oracle model. Why? Because we don't know the value of function or the cost function everywhere. Here, actually, cost function is your validation error. How do you perform hyperparameter optimization? You can't perform with the help of training error. You need to know validation error. Based on validation error, you can perform hyperparameter tuning. So validation error is the measure through which you can tune the parameter, and you don't know validation error everywhere at every point. So from that perspective, what you do, you just know few validation error based on different. Suppose if you are taking neural network structure, and based on different neural network, you are getting different validation error. So how many things you will get in that process? How many validation error you will get? Definitely, it would be finite number. It is not possible that you will get validation error in continuum. It is not possible. So finite number. It is a very cost or expensive kind of approach, costly approach. So this kind of things. So what is happening? We try to bring establish some kind of oracle. In such a we try to collect those few values or few values of that objective function or cost function related to oracle model. And we don't know the actual or actual expression of the cost function, but we know value of those cost function at few points. And apart from that, also, if you need to know few more information, then you may have information of derivative as well, based on some other technique. Like how many method have you gone to optimize that hyperparameter tuning? Anyone, would you like to answer? How many method you know to optimize Amitip, I need answer from your side. Tell me any method through which you can tune hyperparameter. Don't know.
No, sir.
Have you heard that word random search or grid search?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So those are technique to find that optimal hyperparameter. Those are very simple kind of technique, that random and grid search. Apart from that, also there are few model-based technique that we are calling it Bayesian optimization and other kind of things. Even you can observe several blog there in Medium and other website. You can search their hyperparameter tuning as well. So there you will get a lot of sources. What are the possible method of hyperparameter optimization or tuning? So one is manual. Manual is very time-taking process. It is not always
Yes, sir.
feasible.
But
So
checking like
yeah,
if we are converging or not.
yeah, you have to automate it. So another branch of if you might be aware of ICML workshop conference. ICML in ICML conference, there is one dedicated workshop based on these kind of things. So that name of workshop is AutoML. So you can get a lot of exposure there if you want to know about all these. So I would like to say that there are only two approach through which you can you can get to know optimization problem. One approach I mentioned that uh, parametric model approach. Another one is Oracle model approach. So Oracle is very hard. It looks very hard because you don't know value of function at every point. You don't know explicit form of. You don't have explicit form of f. You don't know here. But in the parametric model, always you have explicit form of the hypothesis function. either it may be a linear function, that means it would be linear function. You are having your parameter w transpose x, x is your data, so this kind of linear function or some any kind of function, depends upon what kind of model you are taking. So you are having an explicit form of objective function or cost function in case of parameter model, but in case of Oracle model you don't have explicit form of function, but you know function value at few points. Now, once you are having that idea of modeling perspective, I will talk about a stationary point. Where what is the meaning of a stationary point? Uh, it is all about here we will only solve minimization problem. In optimization problem in this course, we will only talk about minimization problem, because convex optimization problem often happens to be it is having a minima. There is no concept of maxima in case of convex optimization problem. So that's why a stationary point is the point where we won't observe further descent in the neighborhood. If you are taking a point x in such a way, if you once you arrive at this point x, call it x star, and if you further want to improve the function, then you are not getting any descent direction from this x star. You are not getting further descent direction. So that's why this point x star we are calling it a stationary point. And this stationary point may be any kind of point. It may be a local minima, it may be a global minima, it may be a saddle point. If it is a function of one variable, then it may be a point of inflection. So depends upon different criteria. X star would be that. So there are if you there are various characterization of a stationary point. Those things we will discuss it here. And in next class we will discuss about optimality condition of various convex optimization problem. So if you go for different optimization problem, convex optimization problem, you will see different kind of optimality condition. Coming to recap that I had intentionally come with this example again. This one was the non-convex problem. I had already given a task that you had to establish non-convexity of this function, this constant function, infinity constant function. So I had told that this function is non-convex. So anyone tried to establish non-convexity of this function? I had already given it. I need an honest answer. Anyone, have you tried this one? Whether why this function is a non-convex function? Any answer? Anyone tried or not?
No, sir, not tried.
Why? If you are not trying, then how you will learn? Because these things simply always you need to plot. Plotting is not possible. Plotting is possible only up to 3D. What you will do for 14, 50? So that time you need to know that algebraic technique and the idea, those simple calculus of convex function. So through that you can establish. So that's why practice is very much essential. So practice is that I had told that what you do, restrict this function or apply line search method. That means restrict this function along a line with direction 1 1. I had told that. So through this this function would be converted as a function of a step size t. So call that one is gt. So gt would be what kind of function? Or it would be, if you are taking all value of x along a particular direction 1 1, then function f of 1 x, it will take the form of it would be just a function of t. So it would be what? So here x1 would be what? T, and x2 is also t. So g of t, it becomes t by 1 plus t square. So it is just function of one variable. So it is very easy to plot function of one variable. So plot I have already given. You can see the plot. So also you don't need to plot as well. So what you do initially, when t is near to 0, then this numerator is a dominating factor, and due to that you are getting this segment. But when t is approaching towards infinity or minus infinity, then what will happen? It becomes the lower denominator. It would be heavy tail approach. Due to that, what you will see that asymptotic nature you will observe that it is going to touch this horizontal line. Also, it is not a horizontal line. It is a line with direction 1 1, because you have restricted this function in the direction of 1 1. So this function is going to touch this direction, the line passing through origin with direction 1 1. It is a line passing. This is a line passing through origin with direction 1 1. It is the line, or you can simply say that t times 1 1. So this is the plot of GT, and from the plot easily you can see that this function is the GT is not a convex function. So definitely it will imply that your corresponding function f1 is not a convex function. Even you don't need to plot this function of two variables. From this line search criteria, you can establish the non-convexity of this function. Even I had given plot of f1 as well. From the plot also, it is very much clear that this function it is a non-convex function. To plot all these, you can go to visit. There is a very interesting kind of online dedicated plotter that we call it Eka Demo. You can visit there, and that one is giving a freedom to plot function in a really interesting way. You can visit that. You had already seen that this problem is actually convex problem, but it is not in Ostrander form. Why? Because this function is not convex, and here the equality constant is also not affine. But overall, feasible set is a convex set. Feasible set of this problem is a convex set. If you try to feasible set of this one, so what was the feasible set? Feasible set was a ray in second quadrant. It was a ray in second quadrant. This one was the feasible set of this problem, and ray always happens to be a convex set. And we had already seen that the objective function is already a convex function. Why? Because of second order characterization, you can say that it is a convex function. So that means we are minimizing a convex function over a convex feasible set. So that one was the ultimate aim. So that's why apply little bit modification, and through that you can convert this one into convex optimization problem that I had already discussed. Also, I had already discussed one more thing, that if you are taking a function which is not a stick, then there is a possibility that you will get more than one optimum point or minimum point. So here you can observe that there are infinitely many optimum point. That means you are getting x capital op. That means collection of all optimal point. It is what? It is an interval from where to where it is some interval here, symmetric interval. Call it minus a to a. So it is an interval. So even collection of all optimal point happens to be a convex set. Now, if your function is strict convex, then the strict convexity function also not giving a guarantee of existence of optimum point. There is definitely there is an optimal value, but we know that this function is going to touch origin at where when x will approach to infinity. When x will approach to infinity, so this is the plot of 1 by x. So 1 by x will approach to 0 when x is approaching to infinity. That's why optimal value of this function, that means minimum value of this function is 0, but where minimum exists, it exists at infinity, and infinity is not a real point. So that's why it is not, this convex function is not having any optimum point. But if you come across a strongly convex function, then there is a guarantee that always you will get an optimal point. So this is the optimal point. So due to a strong convexity, a strong convexity, I had already told that what is meaning of a strong convexity means find the Hessian or second derivative, and that if Hessian is strictly greater than 0, that means Hessian is always positive, then you can say that the corresponding function is a strongly convex function. Hessian is strictly greater than 0, then that implies a strongly convex function. That means Hessian is always positive. So like it is plot of what? X square. What is the Hessian of this x square? Hessian of x square is 2. Second derivative of this one is 2, and 2 is always greater than 0. 2 is positive. That's why x square is a strongly convex function. Now coming to modeling perspective that I had already mentioned at the start of this class. So one approach is a parametric approach of an optimizer problem. What we do here, so here what we are having a standard form of optimization problem, whether it may be convex or non-convex, depends upon situation, what kind of error function or cost function you are imposing there. So based on that, it would be convex or non-convex. So intensely I have taken here convex function because this course is a it is all about convex optimization. That's way. So I have taken a convex pattern. So here what is happening? This is the parametric modeling of an optimization problem, where what we know about explicit form of the function, we know what is objective function, we know what is constant function, we are having every information about all these. Based on our convention, we know everything. So here also we know that if you suppose it is a convex problem, then if we have explicit idea of objective function and the constant function, then also we know about their convexity as well. So that means these are convex. F naught, F1, F2, F all these are convex. Equality constant is also affine in nature. So we know we are having all these information. And suppose one example of explicit form that here, and where parameter is coming. So like suppose our objective function is a quadratic function, a very general kind of quadratic function. So here what are the variable is here x is variable, but what are the parameter is this matrix P, coefficient matrix P, this coefficient Q, and this constant term R. So these are the parameters. Don't call it constant term. Constant term that it doesn't involve x. In that perspective, you can say that it is constant, but it is also it can vary due to parametric nature. So with respect to different system, it will keep on varying. So these here P, Q, R, these are actually playing the role of parameter for the this modeling approach. So these are the parameter. So anyhow, if you are having a data, from that data we have to estimate P, we have to estimate Q, we have to estimate R under this hypothesis. You can call that the objective function is this hypothesis. You can say that if objective function is taking an explicit representation, then we are saying that it is the hypothesis of that objective function, and where parameter are coming, and we need to know what are the value of this parameter, and how you can estimate the parameter from the data. So we give the coefficient, also called problem parameter. You can call these a PQR coefficient or problem parameter also to solve the problem. I will give you example of model parameter, further model parameter in parametric model of an optimization problem. So in parametric model, a model parameter, it is talking about configuration variable that is internal to the model. It is totally internal to the model, and whose value can be estimated from the data. Remember that value of the parameter we don't know, but we can do a model selection. From there we can estimate the value of the parameter. Model selection, in the model selection always there would be parameter, and that parameter we can estimate from the data itself. So they are required by model when making prediction. And during prediction, then we will try to use this estimated value, the optimal estimated value of the parameter. So those will help in making prediction as well. So they value define the skill of model on our problem as well. So how much optimal value you are getting depend upon that your level of prediction would be there. So also they are what these parameters, they are estimated or learned from the data. We can say that these are name of the same thing, and they are often not set manually by the practitioner. We can't set a parameter manually, it is not a good idea. Otherwise, there definitely it would be either under in most of case it would be definitely underfitted kind of model it would be there. So we can't set a model parameter manually, and they are often shaped as a part of the learn model. Once we have already learned the model, so we will save it, the optimal value of that parameter. Some example we can talk about model parameters that, for example, weight in the artificial neural network or any deep neural network, whatever you will take. So weight is playing parameter role of parameter. Also, if you go to solve a classification problem with the help of support vectors machine, then what is happened that the support vectors and other coefficients are playing the role of what parameter, and the coefficient also in linear regression and logistic regression. Generally, in linear regression, this term is coming W transpose X, this linear function. Also, in logistic regression, as an argument of sigmoid function, W transpose X is coming. So in both cases, W is a what? It is a parameter. It is playing the role of parameter, and we need to find optimal value of this one. So here, what will happen in core? In this course, I'm calling decision. I'm denoting decision variable by X, but in when you will go for practical approach, that time X it would be fixed. It would be given. It is X is the X would be notation of sample data, and W would be what, notation of parameter. So there, that time your decision variable would be W, not X. But for this simplicity purpose, I am calling here, consider X would be your decision variable, and also you can say that X is your parameter. So that also you can say it here like that way. Just it is just these are just convention, not more than that. Now coming to Oracle model, in an Oracle model, we do not know F explicitly. We don't know explicit form of F, and objective and constant function are described by. So what happens here? We don't know F, but objective, constant function, all these are described by some kind of Oracle or some kind of subroutine. So that Fx also its derivative can be evaluated at Q point of the domain of the function. That means based on some oracle or some subroutine kind of approach, we know value of F at certain point, but we don't know F explicit form of F, and this is referred to as querying the oracle. How much query you are having, based on that you will get information. So oracle, you can also say that it is all about collecting information regarding the concerned problem in order to solve that. So as much as questioning you will do, you will get more and more information from the oracle. So it depends upon your questioning approach, how much also it depends upon your expertise as well, how much expertise you are having, so that you can able to ask question in order to solve that problem. And the oracle will things, and is usually associated with some cost such as time. So it is also a time taking process. You know that validation error is always it is a time taking process for deep neural network kind of things. So we are also, it is taking several yeah, deep neural network may take several hours even to get a very good validation accuracy. So those things, you know that it is a time taking process. So we are also given some what happens, we are also given some prior information about the function, such as that it might be convex, or it might have a lower bound or upper bound of the value. So bound might be given from some previous idea or prior idea. These things you might have, but you don't have explicit form of the function. For example, consider an unconstant problem in which we are to minimize the function f, and the function value f and its gradient are evaluated in a subroutine. So that means we are having value of fx and gradient of fx based on some subroutine, but we don't have explicit form. So there we can do constant optimization based on there are many. Simplest one is exhaustive search technique. So here that's where this one is optimization problem, but here actually we are doing search. We are finding the best point. So that's where name of hyperparameter optimization, we are calling it search technique. So in hyperparameter, or simply you can say that it is a hyperparameter search. So you can apply exhaustive search, you can apply grid search. That means define a grid, and in that grid find the optimal value, best value. The grid search. Then what you do, random search. That means take value of the parameter uh, based on some distribution, some specific distribution, and then perform search, random search, and there are many search. Then coordinate search. Coordinate search is also very interesting approach. It is based on so these things you can recall it, all these coordinate search and many other search, GPS. There are many search technique for Oracle model. So that one is a separate branch of optimization. That branch of optimization we are calling it gradient tree optimization. So those there are very interesting kind of book. Also, few papers are also based on those things. You can look into those. So we can call the subroutine at any point of the domain, but we do not have access to its source code. For example, we don't know source code. That means that explicit nature of the function we don't know. Calling the subroutine with argument x yield the value of function and gradient at that point. But so a model hyperparameter. One example is that hyperparameter optimization or hyperparameter search. Also, you can say it. You can call it search and optimization. Both are simple thing here. Same thing, search and optimization. So a model hyperparameter is a configuration that is external. So remember that I mentioned that model parameter was internal to model, but model hyperparameter it is external to the model, and it is what it optimize configuration, or it control configuration of the model, and whose value cannot be estimated from the data. From the data we can't estimate that value. They are often used in process to help estimate model parameters, and these are helping like learning rate. One hyperparameter is learning rate. When you are defining gradient descent method, so then in update a step, what you how you are writing it, xk plus 1 equal to xk, or there are many hyperparameters. You can observe that tau times gradient of f and at point x. So here tau is a, or oh sorry, eta is a learning rate. You can call it is a hyperparameter, and generally what is the domain of this upper value of this one? So, upper value of this one would be 1 by L. L is what? L is talking about Lipschitz constant of gradient, and lower value is 0. So tau is bounded between 0 and 1 by L. So you can take an optimal value, various optimal values in such a way. So such a way you get a better configuration or a structure. So those kind of things. So it is a hyperparameter. They can often be set using heuristic approach. They are often tuned for a given predictive modeling problem. Some example of model hyperparameter, you can say that the learning rate for training a neural network, the C and sigma hyperparameter. C is coming in regularization in support vector machine, and sigma is also coming there. Also, when you are talking about k nearest neighborhood, then how many points in the neighborhood you are taking k, that one is also one hyperparameter. Also, hidden layer, number of hidden layer, and those kind of things are there are various hyperparameters, you can say that. This segment that stationary points and descent. Understand direction. Does it say that it is a direction in which function is having decreasing value. There is a decrement of function. Function value is decreasing. There is a direction in which function is value is decreasing. So how can we define? So we consider a function from Rn to R, and suppose it is continuously differentiable. That means first derivative exists and it is continuous. What is the first derivative of this function of several variables? Actually, gradient is the first derivative. It is function of several variables, so gradient is the first derivative, and this gradient is also continuous. That is meaning of continuously differentiable over Rn. And we are taking a non-zero factor d, and we will call it is a descent direction of function at a point x if we calculate directional derivative and it happens to be less than 0. You can relate this one with what? That consider here gradient of f is a direction, and in that process what you observe that if it is a direction, then with respect to that define a hyperplane. Define a hyperplane in such a way that hyperplane do do trichotomy principle or do separation. Do separation in such a way d is coming, d dot product of gradient with d is less than d. It means d is coming in the lower half space of the hyperplane. So your question would be, what would be hyperplane? Anyone, would you like to answer what would be hyperplane here? Anyone? Ankit, would you like to answer? What would be hyperplane here? Okay, Somdeep, if you are willing to answer, then what would be hyperplane? Okay, Somdeep.
Sir, this so the equation which we are taking, I have delta fx transpose d, which similar to our hyperplane equation.
You forget everything. Hyperplane is just tangent plane at that point x. Draw a tangent plane at that way. X is where? So draw a tangent plane on the graph. So it would be, so x at x, you know about x, so corresponding fx you know, then you can define hyperplane f of x plus dot product of gradient at that point with d. What would be d? D would be a neighboring d direction. D you will get how? You will get through neighboring point of x. Suppose your this is the or for simple what you do, take a ball shape function of 3 variable kind of things. So this is ball shape function. So this is ball shape function. So this point is, you are taking any point in the domain. So domain of this one, what would be? It would be R2. So here in this one is x. So what would be d? D may be in this direction, D may be in this direction, D may be in any direction, like that way. It depends upon. So contour approach is a better approach. Try to draw in contour fashion. So if you draw contour of this ball, so contour would be like this way. This would be contour of this function. So several contour would come for different value of the function or z. Different, if you calling it z equal to x square plus y square, it is, suppose it is a plot of x square plus y square, then different contour you will define. So with respect to that, what will happen? So here if you take this one is a tangent line to this contour, then this would be what is this would be? It would be the direction of gradient. This would be gradient. Gradient is always happens to be normal to tangent at the contour, at a specific contour. So here it would be, this is the direction of gradient. So where is the descent direction? So descent direction. So here it is in the direction of what? It is coming in positive half space. Here this h you are giving by this projection of this project over. So what would be that projection of this on the domain plane? Projection of this hyperplane in the domain plane, it would be your tangent line, because it is a tangent on the surface. But when you project on the domain, then you will get your tangent plane will define a line, tangent line. It becomes a tangent line. You are getting a tangent line. So this tangent line is your hyperplane, and your direction d, it will come this side. So all these are direction of descent. So whatever direction you will take it here, if you proceed in this direction, functional value it will decrease. But if you go in this direction, function value will increase. So this one is the direction of ascent, and these are the direction of descent. So D call it direction of descent. So these are the direction of descent. If you take this direction in this direction, function will decrease, and you can say that it is a tangent line. And how you are getting? You are getting tangent line by projecting this tangent plane on the domain. So this is the tangent line. This is your H. So that you are getting call it better call this one call it H dash, and this one is H, because you are writing in the term of hyperplane. This one is H and this one is H dash. H is the projection of H dash in domain plane. So this is the idea of defining descent direction. You are getting. So that is the criteria of descent direction. Now, once we are having the property of descent direction, that means a direction. If you take a dot product with gradient at that point, and dot product happens to be less than 0, that means you are saying that you are in the negative half of this with respect to this hyperplane. Then simply it says that D is a descent direction. With respect to this descent direction, you can apply descent directional property. What is that? It says that if f is a function from Rn to R and it is continuously differentiable. Again, I would like to recall that that means gradient of that function exists at everywhere, and that gradient is a continuous function over R. And suppose we are having a descent direction D at a point X, then there exists a delta such that if you proceed a delta step in that direction D, that means you are at X, and from X, and there is a direction of D. This is the direction of D. From X, you are just going, suppose you are going delta or tau step size in the direction of D. Tau step size, D call it. So D simply represent it is the direction of this, in this direction. This point X is a reference point. So you are proceeding, you are taking a step in the direction of D by tau. Tau is the step size. So you are arriving at here, and you are calculating. So what would be this point? This point would be X plus tau D, and you try to calculate function at this point, evaluate this function at point. And if you come across that f of if D is a descent direction, then definitely what will happen? The function value at X plus tau of D would be less than f of X due to descent, because descent is happening. That means X is not a stationary point. It is a descent is happening here. So that's why this one is a descent direction property we are calling it. And few example I have already taken. So this one is the equation of H dash. You call it as, this one is your H dash. This one is your function, and here H dash always support the function from behind at that point. If function is not a convex function, then support would be local support. If function is convex, then support would be a global support. So that is the things we had discussed a lot, those things. So you are getting a descent here, a steepest descent. If you are remember that it is not always possible to get a steepest descent. A steepest descent only possible when your metric is L2 metric or Euclidean metric. Then you will call this one is a steepest descent. Otherwise, If you take L1 metric or L infinity metric, then your steepest descent would be different. Even if you take a Newton step, your steepest descent would be different. So those are different steepest descent will come. But here, for the sake of simplicity, here we are taking L2 norm. So with respect to L2 norm, what would be steepest descent direction? It will be given by negative gradient. If you take negative gradient, it will give the maximum fastest descent direction, or steepest descent direction. It will be given by negative gradient. If your metric is, or you take measure the distance by Euclidean norm, 2 norm or Euclidean norm, then this would be descent direction will be given by this one. And if you want to visualize this one in the contour plot, so what you do, always try to visualize in contour plot. So contour plot is giving better visualization of gradient. So here, suppose if you are taking contour like this way, what is the at this point, what is the direction of gradient? Direction of gradient, it will be pointed out. And then what would be descent direction? It would be like this way. And what kind of function this one? This function is a very symmetric function. It is a convex function, but it is very interesting kind of function. You can say that there is isometry. Isometry, that means it behave like a if you try to find Hessian of this one, Hessian of this one would be a diagonal matrix. In diagonal, it would be a scalar kind of matrix. It is a scalar kind. That means both diagonal are having the same value. So very nice kind of a structure you are getting. But suppose your function is non-convex, then definitely you will have an issue with descent direction. So there are various descent direction, and some complexity will be there. Even if suppose you switch this function from one direction, then that descent direction is not looking very nice in that case as well. So there are many possibilities to visualize descent direction. So other things we will discuss in next class. So I had already mentioned several stationary point in this slide. Try to go through every stationary point, and in next class I will discuss in detail. And these are really interesting. That if you understand a stationary point in a really interesting way, then you will talk about the solution of the problem. And you can understand solution of the optimization problem if you are very good in identifying various stationary point, like first order, second order, third order kind of stationary point. And if you will see that if you are talking about local optimal point, actually local optimal point is infinite order stationary point. Like means local optimal point must be a first order, second order, third order, and likewise it would be of infinite order the stationary point. But we want to go to establish that approach. We will introduce one more approach. That approach will come from second order category, that Hessian. Hessian is through second order characterization we can establish that sufficient condition of optimality.